Okay, let's dive right in. I want to walk you through one single, absolutely wild day. March 21st, 2026. This was the day where it honestly felt like the entire world was just teetering on the edge, with multiple crises all exploding at the exact same time. It's really a snapshot of a planet under some serious, serious pressure. And the flashpoint, the spark that threatened to light the whole thing up, it came from this. President Donald Trump issues this stark 48-hour ultimatum to Iran. He says, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or he would, and these were his exact words, obliterate their power plants. I mean, just an unbelievable threat that really set the clock ticking on a massive, major war. But you gotta understand, this threat wasn't the start of it. No way. It was more like the explosive peak of a conflict that was already spiraling out of control at a truly terrifying speed. I mean, the speed of this escalation is just staggering. First, boom, Iran's key nuclear site at Natanz gets hit. Iran doesn't even wait. They immediately fire missiles right back, and they aim them at communities near Israel's own very secretive nuclear facility at Dimona. Then, in this huge show of force, Iran launches missiles at a joint US-UK base, way out on the island of Diego Garcia, proving, hey, we can hit you far beyond our own borders. And to top it all off, after Saudi oil facilities get hit by drones, the Saudis kick all of Iran's diplomats out of the country. This isn't just one conflict. It's a multi-front war exploding in real time. And let's be clear, this wasn't just some abstract military posturing. That missile attack near Dimona, it wounded over 100 people in a nearby community. The human cost here was becoming very real, and it was climbing fast. So, naturally, all this fighting sends immediate shockwaves through the economy. With the Strait of Hormuz under threat, global energy prices were just skyrocketing. And then you get this deeply ironic twist. The U.S. Treasury actually had to authorize the sale of 140 million barrels of Iranian oil that was just stuck at sea, all to try and calm the markets down. Think about that. They're threatening war with one hand while basically needing Iran's oil with the other. Just incredible. And while all this is going on, behind the scenes, the diplomatic lines are just on fire. Iran's president reaches out to India's Prime Minister Modi, desperately trying to use India's influence to find some kind of off-ramp, some way to stop the US and Israeli attacks. But here's the thing. None of this was happening in a vacuum. While the Middle East was burning, these political fault lines were cracking open all across the globe. It was like the instability was contagious. Right back in the United States, a bitter political fight leads to a government shutdown, which completely paralyzes the Department of Homeland Security. This just creates absolute chaos at U.S. airports. At one point, President Trump was even threatening to send in immigration officers to handle security. So, you have a nation on the brink of war abroad, and it's also in total chaos at home. Meanwhile, you jump over to Europe and things are just as tense. Prague is seeing these massive protests. We're talking tens of thousands of people pouring into the streets to rally against the new government there. It was just another sign of this deep political instability boiling over. And you could see the ripple effects everywhere, even in a place you think of as super stable like Canada. The new government was being forced to make these really hard choices, shifting money away from things like science and foreign aid and just pouring it into defense. The whole world was tensing up. And hey, why not add some more political intrigue to the pile? In South America, reports started coming out that the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, had labeled Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, a priority target for investigation. Just another layer of international pressure and uncertainty. And then, on this very same chaotic day, a piece of news that felt, well, strangely symbolic. Robert Mueller, the former FBI director who basically defined an entire era of American political drama, he passed away. It really felt like we were closing one chapter of turmoil just as a new and, honestly, far more dangerous one was opening. But this is where the story of March 21st, 2026 takes a truly shocking turn. Because while it seemed like the entire world was consumed by conflict and collapse, something else entirely was happening. Something massive and, well, something focused on the future. I mean, it really begs the question, right? On a day like this, filled with dread and uncertainty, where would you possibly put your money? Where could you possibly see a future? Well, the answer is here. $500 billion. $500 billion. On a day of absolute destruction, someone, somewhere, was making one of the biggest bets on construction in human history. So who was it? Masayoshi Son of SoftBank. What was this colossal bet for? A brand new, state-of-the-art AI data center. And where? Right in Ohio. And the context here is everything. This wasn't some quiet backroom deal. It was announced after a White House dinner between President Trump and the Japanese Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, a monumental investment in the future of technology brokered at the very highest levels of global power. So what on earth does all this mean? How do you possibly reconcile these two completely opposite narratives? A world on the verge of war and a world on the verge of a technological revolution, all happening on the exact same day? It's like you're looking at a ledger for the day. On one side, you have all these destructive forces: war, shutdowns, protests, endless tension. But on the other side, you have these incredibly powerful constructive forces: a $500 billion bet on AI, collaboration between nations, and an eye fixed firmly on what comes next. It's just a profound contradiction. And that leaves us with the day's really big question, doesn't it? As all our old systems of politics and power seem to be breaking down, is this incredible push into new technology like AI our salvation? Is it a way for us to build a totally new world? Or, in a world that's already primed for conflict, are we just building the next, even more complicated battlefield? It's definitely something to think about.